Hey, we're live. Take it away, my friend.
All right. Well, hello. Hey, hi, howdy, everybody. Welcome to Secrets Behind, Secrets Beyond the Suns, which I have totally been waiting to say for like weeks now. I pitched that title a while ago. Anyway, this is our, and by our I mean their, Q&A session for the post-game decompression for Secrets Beyond the Suns, which has been a long-term Invisible Sun campaign, but I'm sure everyone who is watching already knows that. So yeah, why don't we quickly hop around one last time and we'll all introduce ourselves and then we can hop into some questions. For now, hello, my name is Alex. I will be your host and questionnaire today.
Our question goblin. Since I already just opened my mouth, hi, I'm Mare. I was the game master for the game. Let's go around. Let's go counterclockwise. Seth.
Hi, I'm Seth. I played Zephyr and or Avery.
Abby.
Hey, I'm Abby, and I played Farideh.
Sarah.
I'm Sarah, and I played Lauren or Laurel.
Gonah.
I'm Gonah, and I played Karosael and Paul.
Last but not least.
I'm Caitlin, and I played Alondra.
Right. I think that's it. Let me quickly pop open my
Question.
question document here, and we can get started. Okay, where is it?
You can do
Okay,
it.
I don't have this one. Anyway, so I know that a couple of you, at least two of you, have experience with Invisible Sun prior to this. And I know for at least some of us, this was our first exposure to Invisible Sun. So for those of us who this was a brand new experience, what did you think about the game system? How did you like it? How did that influence how you played, how you made a character, like how you came to the table? And for those of us who have already had experience with Invisible Sun, what made this game different, and what were you able to bring in to the game using your prior knowledge?
Well, this was my very first experience with any TTRPG that wasn't D&D 5e. So not just new to Invisible Sun, but also all the Monty Cook games and just like anything that's not D&D. So I had a lot of kind of recalibrating to do in my brain, just like it's completely different storytelling. And we were talking a little bit before the call about how it's meant like it's not just okay, but like you're supposed to really think out what your character's arcs are going to be, and you can always change them in the middle, but like it's that collaborative thing with the GM of like, hey, this is what I want to do, can we make it work? And then kind of plot out the beats. That I found super interesting, and I definitely want to think about taking into other systems as well.
I know it was new for me as well. And like, first of all, character creation in Invisible Sun, like with D&D, it's literally, okay, first you do this, then you do this, then you do this. With Invisible Sun, it's like you have to read everything and then you pick out the parts that, I want this for a character. And so you're fleshing out your character well before you ever get to that finished character sheet.
Not to mention choice paralysis.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You kind of get to this point where you're looking at all of the things and you're like, well, I mean, I could be a maker, but these weavers sound cool, and Vance's, that's pretty sick.
It's also because I was new to it as well, and when you're making your first character, you're doing it with no reference about how the game actually functions. So it's like, oh yeah, I want to punch people with nightmares. That sounds fun. And like, I want to summon demons. Okay. But then how that actually like weaves its way into the play of the game is, it's like, oh, this is how this works. Like, it's fun to make your first character because it's like, I have no idea how any of this is going to actually play out. because the way the system, especially if you come from like really combat heavy systems like D&D 5e or, you know, stuff like that, it's very different. And so it's like, okay, I don't know how any of this is going to work. The neighborhood creation was really, really fun. And like, there's a whole ton of neighborhood stuff we came up with that never came up. And like, but we had this whole world. And even if we weren't actively going to all of these places, we all knew like, oh yeah, there's this down the street or whatever. It's so cool. It's so interesting, but it's a lot at first when you're reading all this stuff and you're like, I don't know how any of this works, but sure, I'll do this thing. And then you're just like, all right, here we go.
And kind of piggybacking off of that, like when we sat down and we made the world, it helped me get a feel for everyone who wasn't mayor, because I hadn't met anyone except for them. And so like we were also able to see what kind of a world everyone else wanted too. And that was super cool. Like I'd never done that or thought of that.
I didn't know I was the only person who had experience in Invisible Sun before playing the game. But yeah, neighborhood creation is one of my favorite pieces of the Invisible Sun system, specifically because of what Gonah just said. It lets you get a feel for the people that you're playing with, and the fact that it is a collaborative endeavor kind of makes, at least for me, it feels like there's so much more at stake when things start to happen. And that's why I prefer games like specifically Numenera and Invisible Sun to D&D, because instead of like, oh no, this village caught on fire, it's like, no, I live here. I built this house. This is where my money literally comes from mechanically. Like I am very much invested in keeping Laurel from destroying actuality. Like this is important to me in so many ways. But yeah, I would say that for the second part of that question, having played before, it kind of helped, honestly. The biggest thing that helped with was the choice paralysis, because I always want to be a goetic. I love the first character I ever made in the system was a goetic. I still miss playing a goetic. I still miss that character. So wanting to do something different on stream made this a lot easier, because I was like, I already was a goetic. I guess I'll be a weaver.
Weavers are dope, though.
Weavers are pretty freaking dope, but I think in my next Invisible Sun game, I'm gonna be a goetic again.
Nice.
Right.
So it kind of helped narrow down the choices, and it kind of, I will say that it did not help at all as far as planning my character on personal level, because it's such a vast system that it was just, there are so many other things to do as Zephyr than there were to do as Luca, and there were completely different motivations for those characters. So it's not like, it only narrowed things down a little bit mechanically. In practice as a player, it didn't narrow down shit because it's such a vast system.
It's funny because I played a goetic, and I actually next time want to play a weaver, because the way that you always talked about your weaving was just so damn cool. But the reason I picked goetic is because it seemed like the easiest one. Because everybody else was like, you have to combine different elements, and you have to do like all of this stuff, whatever. And I was like, I just want to summon shit. That seems easy. I've played enough Final Fantasy. We're just gonna go with that.
Where the fuck is my matrix so I can throw it on screen again?
Yeah, I will never be a maker, specifically because I remember getting the key and looking through it, and I was like, oh, what is this?
Nope.
I thought it was just a flow chart. I didn't know. I didn't know.
The Maker's Matrix is second only to the little vanity boxes that you gotta fit the spell cards in.
The Matrix, it's bullshit. It's unnecessarily complicated.
But also, Seth, I love that perspective. I already played a goetic, so this time I'll play a lesser character.
Okay, I will say a lesser character mechanically. In my opinion, yes, I loved being a weaver, but you cannot, in my brain, I'm like, like, shit, dude, if Zephyr was a goetic, I would have gotten so much shit done.
Right.
As a demon summoning fucking Zephyr, especially when I bring Avery. Oh man, that would have been fun, but maybe in a parallel universe.
There's something called modalities that we can explore later.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that a little bit, Mare.
What was the question again? Since I'm the only other one with
Yeah. The question was, for those of us who haven't played Invisible Sun, what was the experience like? How'd you like the system, etc. For those of us who have played Invisible Sun, like what knowledge did you bring into it? How was this experience different than previous Invisible Sun experiences? Just how was this game?
I don't know. It felt good being in control and adding whatever the fuck I wanted, and
Yeah.
stealing from you actually from previous games. But that's really all I got on my 2 cents.
No, that's fair. That's legit.
Sarah?
I had played in a single one-shot
right.
of Invisible Sun, actually with Mare, which was really helpful because it allowed me to kind of get a sense for how this world works and some of building like some of the surrealism into your character and kind of what you bring in the storytelling. But I love that in the system you create a house as a part of your character, because most other role-playing systems feel like you're building a combatant. They don't feel like you're building a person. And with the way that character building works in this system, it really does feel like you're building a whole ass person. And I think it leads to much richer and more interesting roleplay.
That's very well said, and I agree 10,000%. It's exactly why I like it so much, is because you're building a well-rounded human being and not just somebody who can survive encounters.
You're not building an adventurer. You're building a person that has regular everyday ass goals.
Yeah, and that ties into like how downtime is handled and how it's assumed that you're going to have lots of downtime to do normal person living things, or things that are super time consuming, like weeks of research. Whereas in D&D, it's like, I sat and read a book for an hour and now I know everything. It's like, no, like it feels a lot more realistic.
I also feel like that ties really well into the fact that like you're very separated from like all the tropes. Like when you come into like a fantasy RPG or a science fiction RPG, I feel like I can't like escape the tropes, and I end up pulling from a bunch of them, but there's still always that influence there. And then with Invisible Sun, it's just like, I don't know what this is supposed to be.
What I like about the character creation for this game is if you have a maker who breathes runes, it gives off a completely different vibe and sentence if you have an apostate who breathes runes. And like there's you only have like a set certain amount for like fortes and orders, but like just the sheer fact and quantity of combinations you can do, it's ridiculous.
And then you add in like those personal touches, like the house. Somebody who is who's a hermit, as opposed to somebody who is established, is, even if the rest of the character sentence is the same, those two characters, as far as the play goes, are going to be role played completely differently.
Yeah.
So there are endless possibilities. And that's why I always want to play it. I always want to be in an Invisible Sun game, because I constantly want to be like, okay, what if I would do this with this kind of character? Like it's so enthralling.
Now we're going to try some individual questions. So this first one is from Mare.
Okay.
So we the amount of Invisible Sun setting content there is like quite frankly absurd. So how did you go about selecting these are the pieces I want to use? How did you pick out from the setting like what you wanted to bring into this story specifically?
So Invisible Sun is very good about the characters are the ones pushing the story. And as a GM, I like to pull from what my players give me. So I had nothing prepared until I knew what their character arcs were, anything like that. And as soon as I got the arc from Seth that they wanted to join the Hindasa, I immediately knew I was going to do something with the Grey Sun. And then Caitlin, I heard, gave me Laurel. And I'm like, okay, here we go. We got someone that they're looking for. And then Gonah gave me that they wanted this shop. Who owns the shop? Oh, the person that's missing and Alondra's looking for. So it all kind of like pieces it together. And so I really wanted to focus on that and just piggybacking off that. Honestly, the hardest part I had, sorry, Abby, was trying to figure out how your character arc fit in. Hence why a lot of the initial back and forth we had in answering questions, because I didn't want you to just to have an afterthought. So the motivation behind a lot of the things on what's happening in the Grey Sun with the missing Hadassah tied in with your character arc. And it just kind of like a lot of piggybacking off of each other until I figure out what works or what kind of story that makes. Well, making sense is not the right word for Invisible Sun, but what would not feel completely out of context. I don't know if that answered the question, but
I feel like that did. For Gonah, what character concept came first, Karosael or Paul? And would Karosael stay in the shadow if he could?
Okay, so Paul came first because I still have a hard time wrapping my head around the whole Gray versus Indigo Sun, because they for me, it was tough to be like, oh, well, it's fake. And it's one of those like, yeah, but you still experience it. Like they're as fake as, say, a video game or a TTRPG game. If you see one of your favorite NPCs die, that still makes you sad. And so Karosael Paul has, like, I actually made the whole he was a thief thing first, so that was all Paul, and then I made the whole he did not come to the Indigo Sun the same way everyone else did,
which I would like to follow, possibly like up in a follow-up question, like, because there's one question that, like, when we get to it, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, because there is a question that's similar to the one I feel that you're probably going to ask. And so Paul came first, and honestly, Karosael is Paul. There's no difference between the two. It's one whole ass person. It's just crime or less crime.
Are you sure about that? With what we did in game?
So things like
perfectly legal, Mayor.
Perfectly legal. I saw no laws. But no, as far as like, because y'all saw when Paul was in shadow, like he acted exactly the same as Karosael, except that he knew the ins and outs to make it so that he didn't get caught, so that he wouldn't be caught breaking the law or any of those things. Like, yeah, the only difference is he going to go to jail, I guess. And would he stay in shadow if he could? I don't think he would stay there, but he and Seth would make a lot of visits. And like I said, I would love to have like a Honey Heist style breaking the gang out. One shot someday.
Put it on the list.
Put it on the list. Because yeah, he counts them as real. Like they are family and friends and all that kind of stuff. I still have stories about their the different heists and things that they did in the past, because Paul was a real person with like we said with the Invisible Sun stuff.
Sorry, I hear screaming in my background. Mary, did you have a follow-up question?
It kind of ties into one of the other questions on the list, so if not, I can always poke around it later if I remember.
Let me know at break, because we have more questions than we have time for.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I don't know. Next, we will go to Alondra. Did Alondra ever summon a new familiar, and what is her ideal familiar?
Her ideal familiar was something angelic. So she was very unhappy with her gross little demon. I think she would have. I think that there was like a moment where I was considering whether I wanted her to kind of like develop an attachment to Sticky. And then I was like, no, this is just gross. And she would not be down with this at any point in time. So yeah, I think once she got back and got settled, she would have done whatever she needed to do to detach herself from Sticky. And she would have tried a little harder to get an angelic familiar. For sure.
You good? Uh-oh.
Forgive me, my computer's bugging out a little bit.
Uh-oh.
Let me try and reconnect my second monitor, otherwise I can just do this. Can y'all hear me? Let's ask that first. All right, rad. So let's go on with another question while I try and figure out what's going on with my my computer here. Oh gosh, I hear my shit beeping at me. Okay. Let's ask this one. For Laurel, is there anything Alondra could have done to convince Laurel to give up the Vespertine?
I think the answer to that is no. Because at the end of the day, and I think the thing I love about where these two characters landed kind of in the final scenes was, and it's, I think, where we had been building up towards, they both believe in what they believe in. And while they care deeply about one another, neither one is going to compromise their kind of core values and core beliefs. So Laurel believes in what she's doing, and she's going to continue with the Vespertine until it's all over. Whatever that ends up meaning, either for Laurel or for everyone else. F.
Give me one quick second. My webcam, I think, is going to flash on and off.
Oh, no. Okay. Do you want me or Gonah to pull up another question, Alex?
Yeah, let's just... so this one is for everyone. Who is your favorite NPC to meet or to play?
Can I just quickly say Samuel to play?
Yay!
Like the animals. Samuel and Metatron.
I was going to say Samuel too.
I don't know, being able to have Metatron as like just that little, like someone... Metatron knows all of Karosael's secrets, everything. And so like to have that one person that he's just thick as thieves with was great.
Literally.
Can I say one NPC that I'm really sad we didn't meet, and that was, I forget, he was like a water buffalo or something, and you had to
Eduardo.
babysit his kids. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. But if we can find time, we could do the one shot.
Yeah.
Also,
Maybe
I really
for
like
a charity thing.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, another charity thing. But like, I also liked playing Cicero. There's something about them that I really liked.
I was gonna say Cicero is by far my favorite NPC to meet and interact with.
I know it was just a short sort of cameo, but Pick and Pock.
Oh yeah.
That scene, like in the
so
library, and the riddles that in the double talk and stuff. Like, Mary, you played that so cool.
I think mine is the lion female angel who showed up during the summoning. I cannot remember if she had a name other than the matriarch.
The monarch.
Or the monarch.
She was based off the monarch card.
Which has such incredible art. Like, for anyone who hasn't looked up the Soothe deck art for this system, you're missing out. But I love a character who shows up to put my characters in their place, or to remind them that they are not as good at lying, not as good at their schemes, not as good at kind of all of their machinations as they think they are. Yes. So the character on this side, the left, I think.
No, I'll point.
Very
I'll
cool.
point. This one.
Thank you.
How's your computer, Alex?
All right, looking a lot better. On a related note, I think we can hit this one real fast. Mare, this question is specifically for you, but I can apply it to other people as well. Mare, what was your favorite card in this game? And anyone else, do you have any particular card pulls that you remember that were particularly memorable or particularly like good stories for you?
Come
What
back
was
to
that
me.
sexy one?
The I'll put that aside. I'm going through the cards right now. Come back to me, because what happens
Okay.
often is the cards between my two games blur together.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Someone else go.
Yeah. Does anyone have a particular card pull that you remember that made you feel like accusing Mare of stacking the deck?
All the time.
Every time.
Every card pull.
We all made them. We all made them. Like, this is a stack deck. We know.
Wasn't there when we like went to Shadow? What didn't we pull like Doom or something?
Gosh.
Oh, and we did one where it was like the cat, and the cat was a companion, and so it was just one of those like, yeah, sure, yeah, that's how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
I personally just don't appreciate the vast number of times that we pulled the misunderstood beast. And I felt like that was in context of the game, knowing what Laurel was trying to get up to. I was like, no, they're no, you're gonna make me empathize with the Vespertine.
I don't have any specific card pull that's coming to mind, because there's just we went through so many over the course of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite, like, whenever it happened, is like when the meanings and the description matches exactly what's happening or is coming up is great. And also one specific moment, which had nothing to do narratively, but everyone's face when I showed the art for this card in chat,
The revolutionary. Yes.
it was great.
Not all men, but that one.
Yes.
Exactly. Men can have one right.
One.
And it's this one's
As
abs.
a treat.
As a treat only. Be revoked at my discretion.
So my favorite super stacked card pull actually happened off screen. So in between the like penultimate episode and the finale episode, our characters had like 36 or so hours of kind of time to fill where we could do something. And so my character wanted to do a summoning of this kind of angel that she's been in league with, along with the Vespertine. And I wanted to know kind of two things from Mare as a part of this potential like scene that happened behind the curtain. And the first question was, does Laurel know the angel's true name? And then the second is, does the angel come to her? And do they have this conversation? And the card pull for does Laurel know the angel's true name was Jackal, value 0. Meanings: intimidation, powerful ruthlessness, dark magic, necromancy. This character is a megalomaniacal figure, willing to do whatever it takes to get what they want. And Mare's response was like, this is straight up a really bad card. You don't know Jackal. And also this bad thing happens. And it was fun to kind of work together to figure out what that, not only does Laurel not know the information she wants, but also what is that bad thing that happened, which in this case was the gem cracking. So I loved that pull.
You don't know the information you're looking for. Also, fuck you.
That's what happens when you get a value of 0 card.
No, yeah, that's entirely true. Let me see. So this next question, just ask a question for Laurel. This next question is for Zephyr. So, okay, my fucking computer. Okay, let me actually ask this one. How did the rest of the Weaver Cell feel about, and I quote, Farideh?
I feel like knowing the people in her Weaver Cell, they're probably like, finally.
Yeah, like they definitely saw it before we did.
Yeah, I think that because that seems to have been everybody else's reaction, so I think that was probably also the cell's reaction. They're like,
The leader of the cell explores the new sphere, so I feel like she knew out before everybody, like the little back of y'all's minds, when she brushes up on and does new sphere shit.
I have a follow-up question, and I don't remember if I submitted this or not because I thought about it, but I don't know if I did. Was the Farideh something that y'all had already thought about, or did it come about because Gonah and I were shipping it so hard?
yes, it was. I know on my part, absolutely not. I had originally designed Zephyr to be Ace, because I identify as gray Ace, and I'm still kind of exploring that side of myself. But it was Gonah, you know good and damn well it was also you. Every fucking time we would talk to each other about like, oh, this nice weather we're having, I would see gay panic cards up in the screen. I'm like, why? So for me at least, it definitely it's y'all's fault.
Seriously, I mean, like from like session 2 or something, like when I got the mysterious flowers, and then I was like asking Zephyr to help me, everyone was like, "Oh, you gave them flowers." It's like, no, what?
Yeah,
Friends can give friends flowers.
Yeah, exactly. Like I felt
flowers
like
that match their hair and give off sparks. And,
I mean, I don't know. I had initially just not even thought about it as a thing. And by the end, I was like, fuck, why not? I'll throw it in here and see what happens. Maybe she'll get shot down, and then I have a canonical reason for Zephyr to like just be alone. So either way, I was like, it works.
There was one moment, it was a couple episodes ago. It was just like because of Zephyr's accent. But you said, I think it was hello Farideh. Yes. And I swear to God, everyone else at the table heard, I love Farideh. And we all were like,
I remember that. And I'm sorry that happened because I don't have theater training and I don't know how to do accents. I apologize. Those were my shortcomings.
It was so good.
I heard the exact same thing. And so I was just
me
like,
too. I thought
like in and out of character. I was like, what do I do, guys?
No, that did not happen. I'm sorry that you all thought it did.
It was not intentional.
I'm sorry that you all think that happened.
I actually did have a question about that, because, so spoiler alert, I typically work during the time that this show airs, so I haven't seen nearly as much as I want to, but I know I've heard at least 2 different accents from Zephyr and or their Shadow counterpart.
Can you check that your captions are off?
Oh, did they shut off?
They did.
Bitch. Let me refresh.
You can do it.
How about now? Do you hear?
You're muted. Okay, say something.
How about now? Is it good?
You're good.
Good. All right. Well, sorry about that. My computer's being real beyond. Anyway, question for Seth. So I know I heard at least 2 accents associated with
Zephyr.
Yeah. So like, what went into that? Because I know that in the game, in the last game we played, Rashiel did not have an accent. So and me as someone who strictly does not do accents, like, you know, how did that feel? How did that go?
I mean, for the second part of your question, how did that go? I think that we can point to the last part of the last conversation we just had, where everybody mistook me for saying something that I didn't say. So, I mean, it's probably not great. I just wanted to play around for Zephyr. I had for character design wise, I've just been getting like way back into the girl with the dragon tattoo, and I am the only person I guess on earth who really enjoyed the American adaptation because it's closer to the book, but whatever. So I was trying to get into like pseudo Scandinavian without going super Russian, and I was just like, why not? I'll just try it and see what happens. I just want to play around with it. At the time that I brought Avery into the picture, I hadn't anticipated for Avery to be so massively like bubbly and outgoing and as different from Zephyr as she ended up being, but since she did, it just made sense that she wouldn't have the same accent. It didn't feel right for me to have pulled from the same like very dark kind of character. So I high key stole her accent from a living human being who I love very much, and I think that his accent is adorable, so I fucking stole it. I absolutely stole his Sydney accent for her, and I ended up keeping it just as a homage to Zephyr being this person initially who did not regard Shadow as something that had any impact on her, and I wanted bringing Avery into her life as like a daily thing through her accent to be like, okay, well, you know, this is still something that matters to me, and here's why. So yeah, that's why. I will say that the Australian was a lot easier for me to do than the Scandinavian too, so that's another reason why I kept it.
Yeah, there you go. Next question we have is for Farideh, which is, how did Farideh and Samuel meet? Parentheses, apologies if it was covered in game. My memory is broken.
It was not
That
covered
was
in game.
me.
And actually, well, thanks for asking, because I
call you
hadn't
out on it, but
I hadn't thought about it. Like I hadn't figured it out. So thank you for asking, because then I was like, oh, that's such a cute idea. I haven't even considered it. Well, I did think about it over the last couple days, and what I came up with was that so Summit, the Lacuna manager of the Benighted Song, hired Samuel one day, you know, without him knowing. One of those things where Summit just hires someone and expects them to show up, and so Samuel showed up one day and realized that no one could understand him. So he didn't quite understand why he was working here until he met Farideh. And then Farideh and Samuel realized that they were the only ones who could talk. And so they became buds, and he just hung around, moved in, became friends.
Caitlin, we had the same reaction of ooh.
We just synchronized.
This is actually related to another question that you have on the list of submissions. With Farideh not working at the Benighted Song anymore, does she still perform or do open mics or anything like that?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I imagine that she travels a fair amount, so she's not always in Fartown, but when she is, yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. Coming through, guesting, just coming and hanging out, you know, saying hi to all of her old folks, and doing a couple shows, but yeah, not definitely not living in the green room anymore.
Yeah, sure. So again, this is a me question, and this has I will actually have to ask everyone a question first, because like I said, I did not actually get a chance to watch as much of the show as I would like to. So, who was romantically interested in the moth? Okay, so Gonah, this is not a character question. This is a Gonah question. What about a giant moth seemed romantically attractive to you? I want to know how you got there.
So first of all, Karosael's pansexual, and I'm gonna blame that. Second of all, like, I never pictured him as like. Actually, I picked out this notebook because like it's got a moth on it. Like it's got. I never pictured him as that. I always pictured him as like Mothula. And I've seen too many pictures of sexy Mothula to turn that off in my brain. But yeah, so and plus like he was always just very sweet, and I in Karosael's creation, like I 100% made him to be just the sluttiest of men, and I love him for that.
This explains the threesome comments. Just throwing that out
there. Like there was no one on his heist team that he didn't romance. I'm amazed that like he didn't end up romancing any of you, but it was always just one of those like little sister vibes.
I continue to be sorry about your threesome.
It's okay. Someday.
So this is originally a question for Mare, but it can be adapted for everyone. So Mare, was there ever a point where the party or a group of players or a singular player went totally off the rails and you had to like completely adapt on the fly? Simultaneously, for our players, was there ever a moment where you had like expectations for things to go one way and then they just completely like go way out into left field?
So, nothing is immediately jumping to mind. If everyone thinks they have a scene that might have thrown me off the rails, tell me and I'll let you know. Alex, you already know this. Seth, you might know this. I don't know how much of the Gate you've read, but Invisible Sun has a very different prep way for this game. You don't plan out sessions. Maybe you like plan out specific beats, but going into a session, you should really only have a handful of things. 3 random NPCs with a name and level, 3 places, 3 odd things, and then you put them in where you need them based off where the characters are going and what they're doing. So since I wasn't prepped, I was already expecting the unexpected.
So you admit that you did not prep.
I did some prep. I planned out beats and general plot stuff, but like I didn't know what the fuck y'all were gonna do unless it was like a big story thing that I had to prep for. Like the general day-to-day stuff, especially at the beginning of the campaign, I was just like, they'll figure it out. I'll wing it. It's fine. This is a strong group of players. I'm not worried about stalling in a streamed game.
And it's kind of made for that.
It is, exactly.
Because it is just as much of the player's game as it is the GM's plot. Like it is truly collaborative in that sense. And God, I love it so much. Monty Cook, I love you.
Monty Cook,
I know this is
sponsor
sudden, but
all of us.
Sponsor us.
If you want us to do
me?
another game with you, we'll do it.
Please sponsor me. I have the box. I paid for it. I love you.
I mean,
yeah.
okay. How about like, okay, when we first went to Shadow, and what was it? 3 of us? No, or was it just the 2 of us?
2 of you failed. 2 of you passed. Laurel was already failed.
That's why. And so, like, I mean, like you said, you don't prepare for anything fully, but at the same time, like, to have 2 of us, especially Zephyr, to not have her memories, like, I felt like that one was pretty throwy-offy, especially with then, like,
Okay.
I was the only one with a cell phone.
That was so good. In a way that threw me off because I was not expecting Zephyr to fail because of
either.
I gave her 3 levels in resist as part of Great Reaper training.
I fucked that roll so badly.
Your dice
like,
fucked that roll.
Like I was. Oh my god.
I had no clue what I was gonna do if everyone failed. I would have figured it out, but like, it was fine. It worked out great. Look
I
at
was
all the
actually-
amazing
Fires in the
interactions.
background. This is fine.
I had a similar question to like. I mean, I think that it was amazing how the story was able to keep progressing, even though we were in Shadow probably for a lot longer. As our non-Vizsla selves as we were supposed to be, but you know, I do wonder like what would have happened if we had all failed. So I'm glad that, you know, there's like no answer to that.
It would have been fine. It did.
2 of us still would have had pets that could like mess with us at least.
Farideh would have still been able to understand Samuel.
Ooh.
So I would have had like my own like spider moment of like my rat is talking to me.
Yep.
I can now talk to all rats. Hey, you. Oh shit.
Nope,
Oh,
just one
no.
rat. Just one rat.
Mm-mm.
So this is a question for Mara/Sarah. At what point did Laurel as a player come into this? Because I remember hearing first about Laurel in like fucking like one of the voice intros or something like that, and I remember there being 4 players in this game. So, at what point did this happen? Was this always planned? Was this 10 minutes before the episode?
So, Laurel was always existed as part of Alondra's backstory.
Yeah.
I messaged Caitlin before March 16th and before the charity stream and was like, what would you think about having Alondra be played by a player? And you were all game for it. And I'm like, okay, I'm thinking of Sarah. Let me know what you think of her when you play with her on the Hellblock Tango game.
Sarah, have you heard this story yet?
I actually haven't, but
Okay,
I'm excited for this.
Two lines into Grazit, and Caitlin was like, fucking yes.
Yeah. It was literally like the first thing you said. I was like, she's Laurel. Done.
It's my gay panic card.
But that was before session 5. So this has been planned. This was planned very early because I had to ask questions from a player perspective for the Glen of Memories scene in the clock shop.
That's crazy because I thought that it was something that had been planned from day one, honestly.
Nope.
So Sarah, how did that impact your playing coming into a game for 3 sessions, already being so connected to another character and being a sort of maybe quasi-villain?
I absolutely loved it. So I think episode 4 or episode 5 had kind of, y'all were around that point when Mare and Caitlin reached out like, hey, are you interested in doing this? And Mare shared with me about 2 paragraphs that Caitlin had written, and like their 2 paragraphs doesn't sound like a lot, but it was really, really meaty, like a lot of stuff in there. And then Mare had some additional details about, some of the connections, like Laurel is the owner of the shop for Karosael. And all of those details were like, this is the type of character who I would design for myself to play. So it was an absolute joy to kind of take on those 2 paragraphs and then just ask Mare and Caitlin a bunch of questions to further flesh out this person. And what was also really cool is like Laurel didn't have a character statement going into this. So I still got to do a lot of the classic character building of going through the book and figuring out how do I select things kind of mechanically to build this person that also work with this idea that these other people have of this person. And then also huge credit to Mare and Caitlin. Y'all were incredibly easy to work with and also very open to the various other ideas I had to add to it. So I absolutely loved it. And the whole group has been wonderful.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that I didn't know because I had basically like, here's how I knew Laurel and like, here's where we left off. And then I didn't have any knowledge about where she'd been since or what had happened. And there were things that Sarah asked me that like, I hadn't even thought of. The one that I think I mentioned this on stream at one point where she asked like, hey, would Laurel have had a nickname for Alondra? And I was just like, oh, Allie. And then she stabbed me with it like immediately. But like little details like that.
That's how we do things here.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Oh, it was perfect.
Stab each other directly in the feelings.
It was perfect.
I asked that question knowing that was what I wanted the first thing Laurel to say to Alondra was.
Mm-hmm. So good. But no, it was cool seeing like somebody that I'd written a couple of paragraphs in my backstory about become this like 3D human with like all of the stuff that I didn't even know. So it was really, really cool.
Yeah. The only things that I gave Sarah for prerequisites in terms of creation was a picture, and you have to be part of the Order of Goetica. Go Buck Wild.
Oh yeah, the picture, the art that we used as like the Laurel inspiration is just like, it's so good. I think I found it on DeviantArt. I don't even remember, but it's so good.
If you can find the link, we can link it, but I only have the picture, not a link.
Yeah,
so
I'll see if I can go back and find it so we can credit it.
Here's a question for all of our players. How are you as a person similar to your character, and how are you different from your character?
So I know this for Karosael, at least. Also, I cheated because like I read all of these questions as they were coming in. So I prepped. But no, for Karosael, like he is very much the mom friend, and that's been me my entire, like, you know how your stupid years are in college? I would be the person who would bring like sunblock and bug spray and make sure that everyone had a snacky for if we were like planning on going out like hiking or something like that. Like I've always been that friend, and I very much brought that together with Karosael and some of his insecurities and why he does things the way he does.
I think I set out to be more different from Alondra than I ended up being, because I am a very squishy human. And so I wanted this kind of like harder character. But at the same time, I didn't want to play into the like big buff lady is like I wanted her to be very intelligent. I wanted her to be very well spoken. Like I wanted to kind of play against that like musclehead type. But because I am squishy human, like she got squishier over time, which was not really the goal, but I actually really loved how that like worked out, that she kind of had this like underbelly, just because I'm not very good at just being a bitch all the time. But it was fun to try.
For Farideh, I mean, we obviously share a love of music, but from sort of, well, I don't know. I always wanted Farideh to both love performing and love helping others perform, like being a presenter and being a supporter and things. And that's what I do in my day job, is present live music. But I never want to be caught dead on stage. So that's one difference. But also, like, I think we are similar in kind of like I love to play support classes, and I think that's true for my life too. Is like I like to be the person, who would come over when Karosael is making something and cook dinner just to help out. But also Farideh like just jumps into things without planning, and I'm someone who like needs a week and two lists to pack a suitcase for vacation. So I tried to embrace being more spontaneous, and that's definitely like one of the personality things that we got to pick. What was it? Ardent, I think it was. Yeah, that I tried to embrace more than I normally would.
I think the main thing me and Laurel have not in common is that I do not seek to destroy the world and everything inside of it.
That's something that someone.
You sure though?
You
sure?
I mean, villains do have a lot of fun, but I think the main thing I have in common is just the self-assuredness and the desire to just kind of go and do shit. And also the like playfulness, a little bit less lying and trickery, but definitely the wanting to have a good time and make sure the people around me are also having a good time.
I feel like I don't have a ton in common with Zephyr. My love for plants definitely popped out because I couldn't let it not. I was like, nobody else knows anything. I'll throw some knowledge in here, sure. I do genuinely enjoy helping people, and I know that Zephyr's main motivation for joining the Grey Reapers, so that is something that I did put in her. Otherwise, I am chaotic Avery energy, and I'm way more Avery than I am Zephyr.
If that's everybody on this question, we're gonna go to break.
Wait. Man,
sorry,
what about you?
Go. Me?
What about you?
I had a bunch
all
of
the NPCs.
How are you like every single NPC?
Oh gosh.
Or any
I don't know.
NPC? Like,
How are you like Samuel?
I don't know. I had a million. Like, I'm just Metatron.
You're Metatron.
I'm just Metatron. How's that?
Yeah, that's fair.
So we'll be back in like 5 to 10 minutes, y'all. Stretch, hydrate, pet your pets, and we will be back soon. Bye. Hey y'all, we are back from break. We are all missing eggplant emoji from Google Meets. Sorry, web captioner. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking. Alex, go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to ask this question at the beginning of this hour because it is quite possibly the most important question I have to ask today. So, what is the least conventional food item you or your character considers to be a sandwich?
Laurel would go to those super high-end restaurants where they put like gold leaf on your food, and if possible she would just only eat food with gold leaf on it.
Does it do anything for flavor? There's just she bougie.
She will lie and say it's all about having the palate to understand what it adds to the dish.
Jeez.
So anything between two pieces of gold leaf is a sandwich. Solid.
Correct.
I like it.
We didn't really get into it, but Alondra's shadow background is that she was a lawyer. So I would say that she would take a very legalistic definition. Anything between two pieces of bread is a sandwich.
What about a sub though? Because that's only one piece of bread. It's just cut about halfway.
I think that would count. Same with hot dogs.
Okay.
I do not agree with this, but Alondra would believe that a hot dog is a sandwich.
Jeez.
Well,
I've just realized that most of the people in this call have not entered into sandwich discourse with Alex before.
Yeah.
I was just going to say,
I have witnessed it. I haven't been participating.
I'm glad at least one of you is right, and the one of you that's right is Alondra. So.
I mean, Karosael really likes calzones.
That's a sandwich.
It's a sandwich.
That's legit.
I'm scared to answer. I've done this too many times.
Yeah.
I don't have strong sandwich feelings. I think
Have an answer. A
Have an
bread bowl.
Does Farideh not have strong feelings, or does Abby not have strong feelings, or both?
Abby does not have strong feelings, and so I don't know what to say. I guess I've also never pictured Farideh eating a sandwich.
I can
Maybe
imagine
Farideh
eating,
doesn't eat sandwiches. I
I was
don't
gonna
know.
say I can imagine her eating like tea sandwiches.
Maybe she's gluten intolerant.
Just yeah, it's all just like just the insight. What's that called? Like a there's a term. Nope, I don't have it.
Club sandwich?
No, there's a term for like essentially when you want like all the fillings of a sandwich, but not the bun.
A salad.
I was gonna say
Well, there's
Like a
something
lettuce wrap?
anyway. I don't know. I can't think of the word.
Ooh, he also likes taco salads. That would be a sandwich.
It's a sandwich if it comes in the
Yeah, in like a bowl of
in the tortilla bowl. Yeah, that's totally a sandwich.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a sandwich because you don't eat it with your hands. I think you have to eat it with your hands for it to be a sandwich.
I mean, they're
I would totally eat it with my hands.
Seth and I are just like, we've been through this too many times. We're staying out of it.
I was gonna say, first of all, that sounds like an underestimation of Gonah. Second of all, there are totally sandwiches that are impractical to eat with your hands. But anyway, like an apple pie. Sandwich, totally impractical to eat with your hands.
Not a sandwich. Disagree.
In what universe is an apple
Not
pie?
impractical to eat with your hands if you've done the crust
Okay,
right.
that's fair. I have eaten an apple pie with my hands.
Oh, also, McDonald's sponsor us. Apple pies.
Yeah.
Eat with your hands.
Hand pies, sandwich.
Hand pies.
Sliced
Okay.
pies, not a sandwich.
It's a sandwich if it has a top crust. It's like pumpkin pie, not a sandwich. Apple pie with a top crust, that's a sandwich.
No.
You gotta eat it with your hands.
Pumpkin pie is if a taco salad is a sandwich, a pumpkin pie is a sandwich.
We have like about 50 minutes
Yeah,
left to
didn't we
get
say we
to
have
more
too many questions? Let's move
I
on.
will say that based on that definition of a sandwich, and we think about what constitutes a soup, the ocean is a soup.
The ocean is a soup.
Had this conversation with Ren and Dax. The ocean is soup.
Yep.
I'm not an expert on soups. I am only an expert on sandwiches, but I will take your word for it.
The ocean is soup.
All right, let's go. Anyway.
It's a creepy soup.
Very much so.
Amazing.
Live stuff in it.
Delicious.
So here's a question. How much prep did you do for the shadow version of your character, and how much was improv?
And for those of you that didn't get to play their shadow character, what kind of stuff did you have prepared?
Oh, true, yeah.
I can answer this first. None. Which is why I was so glad that I didn't fail, because I had not, I mean, I knew her shadow name, I knew that she was a lawyer, and I knew that she had a wife. And that was like the extent, because having never played Invisible Sun before, when I was building my character, I was like, oh, okay, we have to know a little bit about their I thought it was backstory. I didn't think of it as like we might end up on the Grey Sun. So I had done like no prep at all. And then it didn't occur to me until we were rolling that I was like, oh shit, I may have to improv this entire damn character.
Hi,
and
Claudine.
then I did it, which was great. But that's also part of the reason why Alondra's attitude was just like, this is fake. This isn't real. Like, I don't have to worry about like this wife that's texting me, or like the fact that I'm not doing my job, because none of it's real. And that was partially because it fit the character. And partially because I had not done any prep work at all for Shadow.
Yes, can we talk about your wife at all? Like, we would just get, oh, your wife texted you. Okay.
Part of me wished that I hadn't immediately been like, this isn't real and I'm not going to worry about it. Because playing around with like having loving calls with my wife in earshot of Laurel could have been really fun.
Oh, yes.
But I didn't think about that until I had already established like she doesn't give a shit about anything in Shadow. And so I think I missed an opportunity there.
Liza would be hurt. She's crying,
Caitlin,
wondering
we stab
what
ourselves with
happened.
our feelings. You gotta do that.
Yeah, I had sort of a similar approach to Caitlin. Like Farideh didn't really care about her shadow life, and so when we were building backstory, like I had a name, I had a city, I had an occupation, but like I hadn't built out kind of who she was as Nina. So also like I kind of lucked out. But then it was also really fun when we were in Shadow to play a character playing a character. Playing Farideh pretending to be Nina, that was really fun to kind of work out, and I think I had fun with the subtleties in there.
I kind of answered this a little bit already. Like I literally sent Mare PDFs of like other people that I know in my life. So like I had everything planned out and stories and all that kind of stuff, partially because of whatever the thing is, turn tails to reality.
Turns tails into reality, yeah.
Yeah. As a part of that, like I have his life planned out. It's all known.
I'm probably the opposite of y'all in that I'd actually thought more about Laurel's Warren side to the shadow side than actually the life in Indigo, because we were meeting Laurel inside of the Grey, and because she had been there for the last several years. So it was fun to kind of have the moment of like breaking out of that, and then actually spending more time figuring out who was this person and how did she interact prior to being in Grey. Shadow.
I did enough prep that I knew how her time in Shadow had influenced Zephyr. Everything else I pulled out of my butt on the fly.
And it worked out great.
It did. I love Avery.
Mare, how much did you account for people's having different personalities once they hit the shadow? Because I assume you knew they were going there.
Oh yeah, I didn't account for it at all. I kind of knew Gonah's and Karosael's more or less, but I didn't account for the others at all.
Mm-hmm.
I only and Sarah and Laurel too, because plot reasons, but no one else gave me like a here's my crew that I go on heists with.
Right.
And here's a person that we totally kissed for a distraction and not to get caught. Yes, Gonah, you were gonna say something. When you told me that, I was like, oh, I gotta utilize this.
Mm-hmm.
Gonah, I love you. But no, I had no clue. Avery is the one who threw me for a loop, but we worked it out. We worked it out, and it was great.
Yeah.
I had a great time playing Avery's buddy.
Yeah, I like to think that if the story had not called for it, I was not going to go back to Indigo. I was like, it's gonna be you guys trying to save the actuality, and I'll just be in shadow, dicking around,
Doing magic tricks.
yeah, stealing shit from people and going clubbing.
Yeah, that does sound like the life, to be honest.
Thank you.
So here's a question for everyone. What character, aside from your own, and Mara, this can be anybody, what character aside from your own would you feel most comfortable playing as another PC?
I'll go first. I think I would feel most comfortable playing either Alondra or Zephyr. One, because I think I could pull off the no lying bit, and I can also play off the stoic when I need to. I don't think I could do Karosael or Laurel. And then Farideh falls somewhere in the middle.
Well, I immediately thought of an NPC, so I'm going to give an NPC and a PC answer. I have actually been thinking about, like, if I do another campaign, is like what kind of person would I want to play? And I would love to play Summit. I think that would be so much fun. Like, I don't know if you can play a Lacuna, but like, why not? I don't know if Lacuna can be.
For it. Someone's gonna make a hack.
Yeah, I don't know if Lacuna can be Vizsla, but I love the idea of being Summit and kind of their view on the world. If it's a PC though, Karosael, I would go for. We've got a lot in common.
By raw
chaotic energy. It just
chaos. Gosh, the chaotic energy. So
and like pet familiar and kind of friendly, and yeah, I think I could do Karosael.
And here's the thing, I was gonna say I could play Farideh. It's just that sweetness and that, like, everyone's welcome at the table except for Laurel.
Yeah, for me,
and
I think
sometimes
it'd be Farideh. Yeah, I think mine would be Farideh, maybe Laurel, just because I know Laurel pretty well, having created part of her concept, and then yeah, Farideh has energy that I've played similar to before, with like the kind of the openness, like Gonah was saying, and I think I could maybe pull that off.
I think I would gravitate most towards Alondra, because I love playing big, punchy, powerful ladies, and there's also a lot of depth there that I find interesting. And actually, the character I think I would have the hardest time playing out of the group is Zephyr. Every time I've tried to play someone who is like very honest and really it's someone who's kind of that straightforward, I fuck it up and become a chaos gremlin.
I think by far it would actually be Laurel for me. The acting counter to other people's interests is something that I think Rochelle got into just a little bit. And in addition to that, a goetic. I love goetic mechanics. I love the summoning shit. So yeah, I think Laurel for me. I think that Farideh would actually be the most difficult for me to play. I know that she and Zephyr are both very like straightforward and like kind of open people, but Faraday's just like wanting the best for everyone is a very different sense of wanting to help people than Zephyr's. So I think that I would have issues kind of with those nuances. So I would play Laurel, I think.
There's a difference. What I'm getting out of this is there's a difference between being good and being nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's everyone, right?
Yes.
All right. Okay, let's try this one. This is from no@secrets.com. I have no idea who that is. Did you ever have plans for the group to visit any other suns together? Or was that ever something on your radar, Mare?
I only had the plan for them to visit the Gray. However, if they wanted to go to some of the other suns, and it made sense, I would have been like, go for it. But there weren't any plans or anything, no.
Yeah, sure.
And it didn't really cross my mind until I was nailing down, wait, shit, they have to go backwards and forwards and stuff.
Yeah.
Because of just the way how the path works.
Mm-hmm. Let's try this one. What was the most difficult moment for your character throughout the campaign?
So losing music, and this, like, as Mare will tell everyone every single time, I chose this. this was just like self-flagellation, honestly. But for Karosael, realizing that he couldn't listen to music super sucked. And then, like, realizing that extended into Shadow as well. Like, he couldn't just run away from that. And he couldn't hear Rose when she played. Just absolutely broke his heart. But the way that he is, like, he tries not to show that. The only living thing that ever sees that is Metatron. So yeah, that was definitely for Karosael, just like tear out the heart, step on it, try to shove it back in.
I think I actually prefaced mine in game by saying, like, can we pause because I want to hurt myself? But it was the first moment walking into the Shadow bar and seeing Laurel, and then immediately realizing that it wasn't Laurel, that she was still in Shadow, because there were all of these thoughts in Alondra's head about, like, what she was going to do and what she was going to say and how she was going to react and you know, when she was going to start punching. And, like, having that moment of seeing this person that brought up all these emotions and then not being able to do anything because the other person had no idea what was going on was just like,
For Farideh, I think it was the whole Italia getting murdered under the song, and, you know, the fallout from that, like, kind of being put on probation and not feeling safe there anymore, because, like, Farideh already has a house that she doesn't sleep in because it's uncomfortable, and so her new adopted home, the song, all of the sudden is now also unsafe and confusing and not as welcome as it used to be. So I think that was her hardest, again, of being like, oh, I don't really have a home anywhere.
I think for Laurel, it was the moment of kind of coming to in the bar, and so starting to, like, get her memories back, and then seeing Alondra almost immediately afterwards. And so having those conflicting memories kind of coming back of, I love this person, and the last time we spoke, we had a pretty volatile falling out. And how long has it been since that happened? Was it 3 days ago, or was it 3 years ago? And what does now look like?
I am having issues trying to think of an exact moment, because I felt like playing Zephyr I was constantly, like, kind of being challenged with her motivations, and the way that I chose to play her with, like, choosing not to lie and trying to make all of that line up did not come easily to me. So I think that honestly, probably just the couple things that I had to do in order to join the Grey Reapers were difficult moments, but more like mechanically speaking. Because as a weaver, you have to have a assload of sorcery to make things work, and so yeah, I think that yeah, probably those couple of sessions, trying to find the headquarters and then getting through the bleed and all of that.
What about you, Mare? Like, was there ever a moment where you were like, either for an NPC saying, okay, I'm gonna hurt this NPC gonna hurt, or like for one of us?
The first thought that comes to mind is just like someone just who is in pain with worry and stuff like that. Probably Hawthorne. Her sister has been missing, and if I'm remembering correctly, her partner was missing too. And so that's just a lot.
I have a related question for that. I believe this one is for Laurel. This one says, how did Hawthorne feel about ... everything? Like, was she cool with it? Did Laurel lie to her too, etc.?
I think so. The way I've been thinking about this is that there are only two people who kind of knew Laurel's tell when she's lying, and it would be Alondra and Hawthorne. And so I think Hawthorne knew that something wasn't right and knew that Laurel was up to some things that were nefarious as far as most people would consider them. Of course, Laurel thinks that what she's doing, she's, the hero in her own version of these events. But I don't think Hawthorne knows a lot about the specifics, because it would have taken like digging and investigation that I don't know if that's Hawthorne's bag, and maybe Mira can fill in some of the additional details there. But I think Hawthorne would, at the very least, know something is up and be concerned for her sister, but not know the details and probably not want to.
If I'm remembering correctly from when y'all visited Hawthorne, like in session like 3 or something like that, I think the way I described it is she knew she was doing stuff, but it would be safer if she didn't know. Hence why she didn't dig.
So like whenever Laurel shows up, she's just like, oh, you're back from the convention. Have some honey. Don't tell me about it.
Honestly, Laurel probably paints it kind of how like a superhero would. So in all of the, different Marvel movies or properties you read about where someone has like two identities and they're like, I can't tell you because I love you and it would be too dangerous. And of course, Laurel paints herself this way to her sister, or would anyways. So it's probably looks a lot like those types of relationships.
This is a question related to something Abby just mentioned. Mare, was the murder of Talia related to Quiz being chained up, or was that all a coincidence?
First of all, you of all people should know that all coincidences and the actuality are related.
Oh, I'm asking for other people. I'm not asking for myself.
Okay, but to answer the question, the answer is yes. It is related. But I had a hard time getting it to work into the narrative where it didn't just feel thrown in. And it was also had a very tenuous balance in trying to talk about it and bring it up without have it, as I already said, having it come up out of nowhere, but also not spoiling the secrets envelope.
Mm.
It might actually come up, that question might be answered in the one-on-one I will be having with Abby in the future. Mm-hmm. With her relationship with her discussion with Quiz.
Here's one. Oh, is my sound going out again?
You're a little quiet, but you're still here.
All right, that's good. If your character could be of any other order, what would they be and why from a character perspective?
Well, so Faraday's an apostate and she was a weaver. But I think watching Karosael, if she were to choose another order, I think it would be a maker. And I think breathes runes and making is a very cool combination and could make some very fun items. So I think it'd be a maker.
I think Zephyr would be a Vance,
I can see it.
if not a Weaver. I think that the bureaucracy of it kind of suits her. I could totally see her being a Vance.
I think Alondra would go Vance as well because, again, like the bureaucracy is similar to the Goetic order, so she'd be kind of used to that structure.
I guess we're just playing Oops All Vances. Because same, like I don't like the bureaucracy, but especially like if I were to pair Vance with the telling of tales, I feel like we could make some crazy shit, some great shit.
Played a character like that, actually. We had one in Mayor's other campaign.
Yeah. Don't mind me just putting on our one-shot list, Oops All Vance.
Yes.
Laurel either needs to find some Vespertine Goetics who will continue to train her so she can advance in the order, or in narrative, she is becoming an apostate.
That makes so much sense, though. Like her becoming apostate.
It's probably a better fit.
Well, yeah, because we kicked your ass out.
It's no good.
Yes,
The
Alex.
angels don't want to talk.
Laurel needs to meet Emma.
Emma Elizabeth was my Invisible Sun character, who was a
bitch.
Goetic who summoned demons, and she was an absolute bitch 24/7. She was the best. I love her.
Oh, we were talking about NPCs earlier. The other NPC that I absolutely love, just to throw it out, was Mindy's character.
Oh my god, Soraya.
Oh my god,
yeah, she
Soraya
came
was
into this
so much
character.
fun.
Another bitch Goetic we all know
Yeah.
and love.
Oh,
I just love the fact that both Alondra and Mindy's character, both of them, like as soon as we were done and off stream, we're just like, I'm sorry, I'm not that much of a bitch. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
Right.
I really liked this thing. That was so great. I'm so sorry.
But it was great because like that was the point by which like I'd started kind of losing like the bitchy edge of Alondra, which was at that point intentional. It's like I want to show that she's a little awkward and a little softer, but it gave me a chance to like go back into bitch mode and be like, oh no, this is still here
Yeah.
when she's around people that aren't her friends.
Mm.
So getting to banter with her was just way too much fun.
Okay, so here's a question from IDK at no.com. This is from Mare. Was there anything that you wish you could have gotten or included into the game that you felt like you didn't have time for? And there's also a similar question for the players. Was there any piece of character or backstory that you wanted to include or come up with but you didn't have a place for?
I was thinking about this question and I had to, but I forgot one of them. But one thing that I wish happened was I wish Gonah and or Karosael asked Zephyr and inquired more about the person that gave her the keyhole. Because, spoilers, it was not the person that Karosael met in the back alley. It was the very first person who took him out of Shadow. Because Karosael did not leave via the Hindasa.
Mare and I had talked about this like beforehand because, like I said, I saw Shadow as very different from the way that everyone else did, and so part of that is like, in theory, we've never actually seen what's our son? Indigo. The Indigo Sun version of Paul. Paul has just been the same person the whole time, just with or without memories, because he never got this letter that has been shown to everyone else. He did not go through all of the rites, rituals, all that kind of stuff. He ended up meeting this person with the keyhole, and you're right. Like I should have looked more into that, and I could tell there was something that I was missing. But we were all like, yeah, okay. It was the person that I would have to trade the name for. And so I didn't use it because the name.
Yeah. And that's okay. It made complete sense on why you didn't ask. But like, I was like, damn, I wanted to throw more backstory in there, but it's okay.
Yeah. So same thing.
I this would have been an entirely different arc. So less of like a backstory to drop in, but just like something else that I want to figure out for Farideh is how she got her power to breathe runes. Because something in the book, it says that like this is not a typical thing. Like most people don't know how they got it. Like sometimes it's hereditary. Sometimes you were possessed by a demon when you were a child and it left this power behind. Sometimes you have to go track down a mysterious substance and smoke it. Like intentionally or unintentionally to get this. And so like I think a very cool, like I was in my arcs, I was battling between, do I do the join an organization or figure out where I got my powers?
Mine wasn't so much something we didn't get to, was something I didn't actually end up developing, because one of the things that I never actually answered for myself was where Alondra's nightmares came from. And like there was one thing that Mare and I talked about really early on about like she was like raised in or like escaped like a cult, and that's why the Vespertine bothered her so much, because like she had skill in escaping bonds, which I think was left over from that, and then we scrapped the backstory, but I didn't change the character sheet. But like there was never the source of the nightmares. I never actually got around to finalizing. And if I play Alondra again, I might do some more work on that part of the backstory.
Now I'm getting ideas.
Right, yeah. And then there was a rumor that like Electo, the dream shop guy, like stole Alondra's dreams somehow. I wasn't sure if I was going to actually make that true or not, but there was some more stuff with the dreams and the dream shop that could have happened if I, fleshed that out a little bit more.
Okay. I'm still thinking. Jesus.
Sarah, do you have anything?
I honestly don't, because I knew that this character was coming in so late and there was already so much going on, and I didn't want kind of Laurel stuff to kind of take away from all the other things that were happening in the plot and the story. The way I thought about the character was very kind of limited in scope. So there's all these unanswered things like how did she get the Phanodon orb and all that jazz. But I think I'm really happy with what we were able to get to.
I actually had something and I can't remember.
It happens.
Who am I? What am I doing? Damn. There was something.
Shoot. They rolled a 0.
I did.
Remind them.
Oh, right. I do wish that I would have been able to do more with my forte. Because we've stealth with sorcery. That's fucking dope. I really wanted her to be more of like a sneaky kind of a weaver, and I felt like I got that for about half of the campaign, and then the other half I had to focus on just leveling my sorcery pools, because weaving requires a shit ton of sorcery, and I wasn't prepared for that. So I do wish that I would have been able to do more with my forte.
I remember two things. Number one, there was some point, Mare, where you like asked all of us, hey, would y'all be okay with just being hired by the Benighted Song by Summit? Because they sometimes just do that. Yes, you asked everyone in the general chat. Like, what? What?
Well, because Summit has a habit of just hiring random people and without their knowledge.
So there wasn't anything deeper to that.
Just for fucking with y'all.
Okay. And another thing that was just between you and me, where you were like, do you know what the angels steal?
Yeah, because you had a second, but as well as the angel that took you from Shadow, you had another contact, a different angel contact, as part of your Saturnine contacts, which unfortunately, I wish we kind of got to, because that would have been really like cool and interesting like aspect to explore, like a sect of angels who steal stuff. And I've got a couple general ideas now that we've had some other plot stuff happen. I was thinking of kind of tying it into tying in stuff like the orbs, like stealing the orbs back from Laurel and what her and her buddy do.
Okay.
Those
Cool,
are
cool.
just some high level ideas.
All right, so I have one last question, but I will also open up the floor to any of y'all if anyone wants to ask any questions on Twitch chat right now to anyone else. You can go ahead and do that amongst yourselves. Otherwise, I only have one question left.
Yeah, if anyone in chat has any questions, just plop them on in.
Does anyone on screen have any questions for anyone else?
I have one.
Go
Did
ahead.
y'all have fun?
No.
Tons.
Yes.
Seth, you villain.
Oh my! Have we gotten to the gushing portion? Because
We're about to.
Okay. All right. I'll wait.
Yeah. So this is the second most important question after the sandwich question.
Soup.
No, like I said, I'm not a soup expert. I'll bring in Ren. I'll give them a call. No, but what was one of your favorite moments of roleplay from someone else at the table? And bonus round, try to get amongst all of y'all, try to have a comment about everyone so that everyone can feel gushed about.
Can I just say I really liked the roleplay moments of when you were all in the Glen of Memories. I loved all that. And to include Sarah in on this, basically any one-on-one you had that where there was conflict with Alondra. Like, I thought that scene was just super fun, and we got a nice lovely range of like emotions.
I think one of mine that really sticks with me is just when Paul went to Rose and we're in Shadow, and Paul tried to show Rose the letter from the Hindasa. Can you read this? Just that hopefulness, and also it kind of illustrates a lot of what you talked about tonight, Gonah, or this morning, of like it's all real to Paul Karosael, like none of it's fake, it's all real. So that was just such a good moment, and it was heartbreaking and just absolutely beautiful.
Just piggybacking on that, we've already mentioned it a couple times, but Gonah, just in general from Mare as a player, when I played Invisible Sun, that is something that also resonated with me and my character, because just because it was fake doesn't mean it didn't have an impact, and I appreciate that because I just appreciated it.
I loved Zephyr's decision to go back alone, and then the whole process of going through the different suns, and like, I mean, the closed eye finger guns special nomination, but
yes.
but just that whole process, and like seeing how much Zephyr had like grown in like ability and confidence, was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go past like 3 of these gatekeepers because that's what I need to do, and that's how I need to get back home and fix this. Like, that whole sequence was just so good.
I have a couple. Anytime that Karosael gave a gift, like like anything that they made and then gave it. Those were always such sweet little moments. And then also a not sweet Karosael moment is when he broke the clock in the Glen of Memory so that no one else could see. Loved that choice.
This is hard because I feel like all of you guys are just fantastic role players. And I've learned a lot from being in this game with you as far as like improv goes, as well as fleshing out characters. Let me think here. Good Lord. Honestly, it's a smaller thing, but seeing Lauren in just like her daily life doing all the things that, you know, that are required of like an event planner and managing somebody, I don't know why that was like fucking enthralling to me. So I was like, oh, is that how that's done? Neat. Wow, look at she's really like got all this, like all this shit is like down pat. I don't know why that resonated with me so much, but I really enjoyed watching you do that. In addition to that, I really liked watching the moments of, how do I put this? There were some moments from Alondra that we had during, you know, the typical like punchy scenes where you would kind of get like this sense of like desperation out of you because you are in fact, you know, using fists like in nightmares. And I really liked like those small little kind of flavor moments that we got from you, because added a lot of depth to this character that, like you said, could have easily been like written off as like a punchy, strong character. So yeah, I enjoyed those as much as everything else.
I loved watching Farideh play Nina, which you've already kind of touched on. But I also, every time you interacted with Quiz, and it was just like, here is this like giant legendary being, and you're just like, oh, hey, what's up? Give me a second. I'll be right with you. Like just the casualness, the way that you chose to interact with this being was just spot on. And just such a great choice for Farideh. That's like, oh, this is just a person. I'm going to talk to this person, and not being like awed or like cowed by like the figure. I love that. That anytime you interacted with them was just great.
So there's a scene that like I feel is so quintessential. It was Alondra, and it was before Sarah was on as Laurel, but Caitlin and Mare, you guys were doing that memory of Laurel leaving, and just that one specific line where it's like, why did you go the one place I couldn't follow you? And just like ripped us asunder. That was fantastic. Just both of you absolutely destroyed all of us.
Full disclosure, I practiced that line in the shower. That was not improv.
No, I know you told us afterwards.
Because I knew it was coming.
Still
I was like, I need a button. No, that scene was great. Mare like destroyed me in that scene in the best way. Like I was just kind of sitting there reacting because I didn't know how they were going to play it, but like the way that you like jumped in and did Laurel was not what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be very aggressive, and it was very kind of like manipulative, and it was, oh my God, like the way that you did that was just flawless. I loved it so much.
I asked Sarah what would have Laurel done and gone from there.
Yeah.
The specific line I gave Mare, and I think kudos to you, I think you played this so well, was that the general thought is Laurel would deny everything, admit nothing, make counter accusations. Because that's what a liar does when they get caught. Or that's one way to play it. That's how Laurel would.
Yeah.
We did have a couple questions in chat. I don't know if you saw them, Alex.
Yes, I did. These were a couple of last questions from the sheet. We have a question to Laurel. Whatever happened with the Gold Angel? Were they fine with selling the shop?
I think I actually don't want to answer that question. This is something that Mare and I have discussed offline for what happens with the shop, and it's something that could become really interesting should there be one shot, should there be anything in the future. But needless to say, Laurel and Artis the Angel may or may not be 100% on the same page about some things.
We'll figure it out.
Yep.
And then we have one last question, a dual question to Alondra and Laurel. Alondra, let's see what it specifically asked. Whatever became of Sticky? How is he doing? Laurel, if/when you met Sticky, what was your reaction?
As we discussed earlier, Alondra would have dismissed Sticky at the first opportunity, so she has no idea how he's doing.
And you don't care.
And I do not
He
care.
doesn't just like pop up at tea time, just like, hey.
I don't remember. I think it's because when I went to summon my familiar, I got a really bad Sooth pull or something. I don't remember exactly how Sticky came to be.
I saw this creature in one of the books, and essentially, I was like, this would be really cool for Alondra because it induces nightmares. And I threw it to you. I'm like, hey, you don't have to do this, but like, if you want this to be like your familiar when you tear up, go for it. And I gave you the option.
Right. That's right. And then I was like, she would absolutely...
So you did this to yourself.
Right. And then I was like, she would absolutely hate this. And also, let's do it. Like, mechanically, it makes sense because it could power up her stuff. But then, like, once we actually introduced him, I was like, this is not going to work because she just hates him way too much.
And everybody around him hates
exactly.
him.
Nails on a chalkboard, yeah.
Nope.
So I don't know if Laurel would have ever met Sticky.
Which is probably for the best because Laurel would mock Alondra mercilessly for this and be like, are you sure I'm the one who should be on the right hand? Because Sticky, Exhibit A.
Okay, and our final question is for Mango. How many buffalo wings do you want, Mare?
I saw. Just put some aside for me, sweetheart.
All right.
I'm so hungry. Fuck you.
Right,
I want buffalo wings.
I want wings too.
Where are my wings?
Did you bring enough for the class?
Yeah.
Rude.
Mango, what's up?
Mango.
Mango, what the fuck?
Mango, what the fuck?
Mango, what the fuck?
Wait,
Unless
Mango-
our last question is Mango, what the fuck?
Yes.
Mango, can you deliver these out?
Yeah, that's our final
Yeah.
question.
What's your shipping time?
He made plenty. Come get them.
Okay, bet.
All right.
On
Anyway,
my way.
I do believe we are out of questions for Secrets Behind Secrets Beyond the Suns. So we will all quickly probably go around and say goodbye.
He was about to bring them in here.
I think that's a great idea.
You're getting middle fingers.
Chipped nail polish. I'm so glad I didn't repaint because you don't
Right.
deserve the nice nails.
Damn, Jesus.
Hungry, okay?
But yeah, we will go around one last time to say where you can find us on the internet and what other cool neat stuff we're doing. If Mare has any channel announcements, they will make those, and then I think we will be good to sign off. I will go first because I am already talking. Hello, my name is Alex. You cannot currently find me on the internet, but that will be changing soon.
I'll go. Hi, I'm Mare. Find me on Twitter at Archmage of Dice. A lot of my projects have died down. I'm taking a GMing break. But I am still playing in Horizon's Call on Eva Sarach's channel at 6 p.m. Eastern time, so join me in about 3 hours over there. Also, every other Tuesday, I am in Anarian's Rest on Graham Cracker's channel at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, where I play my Artificer Warlock River. Also, every Sunday with my partner Mango, we play Golden Sun on my channel at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so join us tomorrow morning on Sunday. And I think that's it right now. I've got a lot of offline miscellaneous games going on. Popcorn. Let's go, Abby.
Hello, I'm Abby. You can find me on Twitter at Aragorn's Girl. The next time you can see my face on the internet is July 31st. I'm going to be a first-time guest on Smutty Saturday.
That's right.
With Lady Dame. No idea what we're going to be reading yet, but that will be fun. Yeah, Mary, you're going sometime this month too, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be on the 24th.
Awesome. So we'll see how that goes. It's going to be chaotic as always. Otherwise, I just want to give a huge thank you to everyone that I got to play with, because y'all are amazing. Mayor, for ushering us through this. I mean, for most of us, our first time in this system. And this was my very first streamed game, and only like my third campaign ever. So just thank you everyone for being amazing role-playing partners, and there's no way I'm going to be able to leave all of these characters behind. So I hope we do get to have our little beach episode, because I'd love to come back and play with y'all some more. Popcorn to Gonah.
Oh, but I was just about to type in hashtag season 2. So first and foremost, you can find me as Gonah Hawking just about everywhere, including on Twitch, where I play League of Legends, RPG games, and scary games on Saturdays. Terrell and I are planning on doing tonight's game. For right now, that might change. That will be in 4 hours at 6 p.m. Central. And we're going to be continuing playing Resident Evil 0. We're going to go through the whole franchise. But you can also find me on like Twitter and TikTok and all those places as Gonah Hawking. And this game has been just amazing. I mean, first and foremost, as I said before, meeting so many people, and like this is literally like this has become a community, because it's not just meeting Seth and Sarah and Caitlin and Abby and Alex. I already knew you, so I can't. But it's also been meeting like others, like, you know, Ren and Mango and all of these people. And so it's been amazing building a community like this, as well as this is actually my first homebrew campaign that's been just homebrew campaign at all. Like I've never done that. So super cool to be able to do that with all of you, and to be able to make it a role-playing aspect. And it's to the point that it has inspired me to also start doing a homebrew campaign with Terrell. And so we're going to be co-DMing that, and it's going to be D&D, because I do not know enough about Invisible Sun to run a game.
It's also expensive as hell.
So yeah, yes, teach me your ways. But yeah, no, this has been amazing, and I am so thankful to all of you for putting up with my shit, because it's pretty great. But yeah, I think that's all the things. Popcorn off to Seth.
Sorry, I was timing out Mayor's husband.
Is he actually timed out?
It's for the best.
Oh, it says I can't because I'm not the owner of the channel. Why won't you give me more power, Mayor?
I think it's also because he is a mod as well.
Because he's a fellow mod. Damn it! Fine, I'll get him next time. It's fine. So hi, I'm Seth. When I'm not trying to ban people's husbands for showing pictures of chicken wings, I am available on Twitter at KillXJill. When I don't have a pill stuck in my throat, I don't sound like this, but I'm currently suffering, so I'm sorry. I also have an Instagram where I post pictures of my orchids and my cats, KillXJill with an extra X at the end for umami and flavor. You can also find me on my Twitch at KillXJill without the extra X, because dude, it's already spicy enough. I am planning to get back into streaming very, very soon. I want to get more into video games as well as crafting and painting and stuff like that, because I have too many hobbies and I might as well share them with people. I might stream today. I don't know. I don't know. I have sort of plans, but if they don't happen, I might stream today. If I don't stream today, I will definitely be streaming at some point next week. So if you want to do that, follow me on Twitch so you can get the updates and the emails and all that shit. Otherwise, you can get at me on Twitter and I'll post it all there too. As far as upcoming things, I actually don't have a lot going on right now. It's kind of nice. I'm just working on adjusting to a new job, and in maybe next month or the month after, I will have a game coming up in Vaesen that I'm very excited about, which is a Nordic horror that's based around like a bunch of different monsters and things like that. However, my GM is all about multiculturalism, and because just Nordic horror is boring, I will be bringing yokai into the mix. So stay tuned for that. More news about that as we finish developing it. That's all I got for now. If Finn doesn't want to say anything. No, he doesn't. Well, I will say that I love each and every one of you. Hashtag season 2 win. I'm not done with Zephyr, and I don't think any of us are done with our characters. So hashtag season 2 win. I will popcorn it to Abby.
I already went. So
I will popcorn it to Caitlin.
Hello, I'm Caitlin, aka a theaterphile all over the internet. I play vintage video games on my Twitch channel, which in my channel means any game that's at least 10 years old or older. I am not responsible for making you feel old. If I have to, so do you. I've been on hiatus for a couple of weeks, but am coming back this Wednesday night. We'll be picking back up with Kingdom Hearts 2. And then the following Sunday afternoon, we'll be picking back up with Super Mario RPG. Also have some other stuff potentially planned, some crafting streams and such if we hit our follower goal by August 1st, because then I have to start creating couples costumes for Sean and I for Halloween, because that's the goal for 250 followers. So there will be polls and sewing streams and all that kind of stuff if we get there. So check that out if you're interested. You can also follow me on Twitter, also at a theaterphile, which is where I post about other times I might pop up places on the internet. And I will first say that I also love everyone here. This has been so fun. Like, I love that our characters came together, but I also love that I feel like all of you are like friends now, and that's something very cool that has not happened in all of the games, except for Seth, apparently.
What?
But like, you know, you play in a lot of games and you meet people and it's cool, but like, I feel like we've actually created a real like community here, which has been really fun. I am also not done with Alondra, so I hope that we get hashtag season 2 as well. But it's just been amazing, and thank you, Mara, especially for bringing everybody together and this amazing story that we all told. I will popcorn it over to Sarah.
Heyo, my name is Sarah L. Kinney. I am this on the internet. Just follow me on Twitter, and that's the best way to kind of learn what I am up to and what I'll be doing. I'll be playing in a long-term Monster Hearts 2 game in a while as a werewolf. Coming up, they will be very different from Laurel, so I'm excited to kind of give another kind of broad character trope a try. But otherwise, it's been an absolute privilege to play with all of y'all. Thank you for being just incredibly welcoming and having these interesting characters, and for being such good role players. It was so easy to join this group. I've done this before, and just a huge credit to all of y'all that like this is the easiest it's ever been and the most fun. So y'all are all wonderful, and I'm excited to see what happens next, whatever that might be. And that's me.
I think that's it. I don't have any plans coming up. Thank you everyone once again for this amazing game. This was my first streamed game my first short-term game that I've finished. I've mostly done one-shots, so thank you for sharing this experience with me. We're going to go raid Allie Mack, who is playing Dragon Age Inquisition. So
My Dragon Age heart.
So we're gonna go raid her. Everyone say hi and have a lovely, lovely, lovely start of your weekend. Bye.